Today is Tuesday, so it is New Turd Tuesday. 9 a.m. we'll give you some new stuff. I have new stuff from Bad Flower, and their song is Teacher Has a Gun. Not normally a big fan of Bad Flower. Well, you should want to read. I mean, I don't know if we have to kill you. I think life is going to kill you in a different manner if you don't like to read, but okay. It's a little catchy in there, I suppose. New Bad Flower, Teacher Has a Gun, 9 a.m. for New Turd Tuesday. Also have new Keith Urban.
Lots of plums there.
His new song is called Wild Side. When I listened to this yesterday, it was in what we call my Q speaker, so not like the on-air monitors in the studio. It's just like a little Q speaker in the board. And when this started, I thought he said raped. And I was like, wait, what? And I like literally whipped my and I listened to it again. I was like, oh. We will round out New Turd Tuesday. That microphone talk back, but the bench back, have him play a couple of keyboards, and we'll be done. Like, what are we doing? You're like, dude, this isn't top. This is a Heartbreakers record. If you got Mike Campbell in there, it's a Heartbreakers record. And if you got Eddie Vedder singing, I'm sorry, that's a Pearl Jam record, but save it for later, part of New Turd Tuesday. Again, new Keith Urban, and also new Bad Flower, Teacher Has a Gun. Also at 8 a.m., apparently, so many of you want more politics in the bedroom of all places. Sex and politics merging together on the Stansbury Show this morning. We'll take a look at that conversation. We'll do that coming up at 8 o'clock. Also at 7, it may just be now of the electric car. They have been polling people who have bought an e-vehicle. They absolutely, and I mean absolutely, cannot stand it and hate it. We will get to that coming up at 7 o'clock. Over half of them are like, I am done. I am going back to a gas-powered vehicle next time around. We had predicted that here in that studio right here, and it turns out that's coming a little bit true.
If you leave, you'll miss this on the Stansbury Show.
Well, we're going to talk about driving a little bit next, too, as a T County man now going to be behind bars after his 14th OVI. We'll get into that wild story. We'll do it here next on Rock 106.9. Looking to play a little golf with you on the 24th, the Stansbury Cup. We'll be back at Raintree Golf and Event Center. Your sign-up sheet is active now, that at WRQK.com. Looking forward to seeing you guys out there.
You know, I like yellow, right?
I got a little in my cups last year. Had to be driven home. Yeah, it happens, right? Sometimes you're out there, middle of the day, drinking, playing a little golf. It can happen. We'll see you guys on the 24th. Get signed up now. WRQK.com. Actually, alcoholic consumption is what we're going to talk about right now. Alcohol consumption, rather, is what we are going to talk about, as the Ohio State Highway Patrol is now investigating an accident. It was a hit skip that actually has already led to one man's arrest. John Owens, 60, of Uricksville, apparently was eastbound on 39 near 77 in Dover Township. This last month, it was just after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. According to the police, Owens rear-ended another vehicle and then left the scene at that point. They found him at his house, where he then refused field sobriety tests, according to the press release. And then he was arrested for OVI. Troopers say, wait for this now, it is his 14th OVI. Now, he had refused field sobriety tests. And again, I told you this before, and a lot of people get upset about it, but like I had a lawyer once upon a time tell me, don't give those. What you're doing is supplying evidence in a court. Now, I would hope that I don't have to worry about it ever again. I have been arrested for this once before. It was one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my life, and I would tell you I was long overdue. The amount of times when I was living in Parma and would drive from downtown Cleveland to Parma
I have mold
in no
my
condition to
hands,
do
it's
so,
hard.
I mean, it was nightly for a while.
That's why they said
It's disgusting. But the amount of times
Head
I've done
hard.
this. As a matter of fact, when I went to my hotel stay, they told me then, and this is going on 10 years
I
now,
have a mold in my hand.
but they told me then, I think on average, you drive 77 times impaired before you're caught. I don't know how they got that number or where they came up with, but I remember hearing that going, geez. And I remember thinking to myself, oh God, I bet the over with me. It was way more than 77 times before I got caught. And it has since changed my behavior. Now, Uber and Lyft helped make that an easier decision as well. Those things weren't necessarily around years before. But now all of a sudden it's like, well, all right, because people will always say this, oh, a $40 Uber? Like I once Ubered to and from Blossom. And somebody said to me, that's going to be like $60 each way, isn't it? And I said, yeah, it's going to be about $120 to get home. You're right. Versus $10,000 for the DUI. They find a way, it affects every aspect of your financial life, the DUI. So much so where I've said that if you get more than one in a quick turnaround these days, you might have a drinking problem. I don't think just getting one means you do. It might. I was going to say probably. I'll stop short of probably and say it might mean that. It doesn't necessarily mean that. You start stacking them up, you got an issue. Like I got a very close friend who got 2 in a year, and that's when he knew. He said it was like that second one I was like, dude, in a year? Like nobody does this. I should not be doing this. And he had to look himself in the mirror a little bit and went and got some help, and now he's, a much different person on the other side of it. Knock on wood, hopefully he makes it through that, right? 14 of these? What do you do? I know what you're thinking. Take the license away. He didn't have a license. He didn't have one. They already did that. But you're a grown-up. The man's 60. As long as he has a vehicle that he can physically get into, turn on, and make move, he's going to do that. It kind of reminds me of that Sopranos scene where they're trying to figure out what to do with Meadow after she, sneaks out of the house. And Carmela's screaming bloody murder in the bedroom. Oh my God, we gotta do this. And Tony, we gotta do this. And Tony. And he just turns to her and says, Carm, look, I hear you. But be careful here. Don't overplay your hand. Because if she finds out we're powerless, we're effed. And he was kind of right? Like there's only so much you can do. And that's how I feel about this crime. There's only so much you can do. There's really no way to stop somebody from driving unless you take every car in the world off the road. Because he probably knows somebody who will loan him a car. He might even have a car. Notice they don't take your car. That was one of the interesting things about that too. It's like, well, they suspended your license, but I get to keep the thing? Like, wouldn't it maybe be a better solution to let me keep the ID so I can prove who I am at any given moment over another issue, but maybe take the vehicle itself? Now, nobody wants that to be the punishment, right? And I've said about this crime, having had one, that if you want to end it, the first DUI is 5 years in jail. You do that, you end this, and I mean tonight you end it. It's just a financial issue. Take a guy like me. Now I learned and I kind of turned my behavior around for the most part, right? Now I also just don't drink as much as I used to, and that helps, and there's a lot of stuff going on. But you take a guy who makes the kind of money I do, who doesn't have a wife and doesn't have kids, it's a little bit like an NBA player. I mean, I don't make money like that, obviously, but I make more than enough money to pay fines and be like, I mean, it stings and it sucks, but you know what I mean? Like that fine I had to pay was worse because, again, I got that, my DUI happened before I got the job, this job. And so I wasn't making as much money then as I was. So I felt it. Today, yeah, it would hurt. I would probably lose my job, and that would be the part of it that hurt. But if you just charge me the 10 grand, it'd be like, all right, I don't want to pay $10,000, but I could. But if you tell me Oh, hey, buddy, your freedom is on the line if you do this. I ain't messing around. I ain't doing that. 9 a.m. is New Turk Tuesday. Got new stuff from Eddie Vedder for you. Also, new Bad Flower. And Keith Urban, too. All part of New Turk Tuesday. You can reach out to the studio using the text line at 330-450-7625.
Love you.
I see Tom Morello's being dragged up and down the internet right now.
Love you.
And this is one of my least favorite complaints. Now, I know I am known to complain, right? So what I should probably not do is complain about other people complaining. But this is one of my least favorite complaints. What Tom Morello said was metalheads need to get their act together and act as if they need to get their act together. He was talking about becoming a little bit more politically aware and engaged, maybe, versus, and this is an interesting conversation. Are you engaged or are you just enraged? Because they're different things, right? Now, I guess what one could say is, well, the more engaged you are, the more enraged you will become. And I guess maybe that could be true. But what do you think everybody's saying to Tom Morello in the comment sections? Raging for the machine now. Okay, well, no, that's not the reality of that at all. They were always this. Rage Against the Machine is a perfect example of what I'm always talking about. You loved those songs in the 90s. You were young, you were passionate, and you wanted to see the world change, and you thought, my generation's going to do it. But then you got married. You had 3 kids. You've been fired a couple of times. You have a mortgage. You have to put braces on those kids. You have to plan for their life has hardened you and made you bitter and made you mean and made you nasty. And so therefore, any of this change, you don't think you're going to take part in. I don't want change, blah, blah, blah. Just play the music, dummy. Oh, you mean all the music where they talked just like that? That's the other reason why it bothers me too. Stick to music, Tom! As if every last song from Rage Against the Machine isn't political. Every last one is about politics. Every song. Every album. Those that run forces are the same that burn crosses. I might have it the other way around. Is it those who burn crosses are the same that run forces? It might be this one of the things. He's saying cops are in the KKK. That's what he is saying. That's what he has been saying since the 1990s. You were young and cops were busting up your Dairy Mart parking lot party. So it was like, get out of here, cops. Rage Against the Machine. Right? That's what was happening. We're trying to play hacky sack at Dairy Mart's parking lot, bro. Get out of here. Right? And the cops were busting that up, so the cops were terrible and awful and out to get you. So all of a sudden, Rage Against the Machine made a bunch of sense. But now you stop at the red light. You don't turn right on, don't turn left on red. You follow the rules now. It's all of a sudden, it's like, support this, support that, support this. The songs were always about politics. They were always about the changes in politics, not only American politics, worldwide politics. And now everybody telling Tom Morello, stick to it. You mean the stuff they have been doing forever? Stick to that. Stick to that? Is that what we want them to stick? They've already been doing. It's just kind of funny, right? It just goes to show you people aren't really paying attention, especially music. And this isn't necessarily a knock on anybody. It's not. Music is, a lot of times, it's rhythmic, right? And so it's just kind of pulling you in for sound and feel, and it's cliff notes. You don't necessarily need to read all of Shakespeare with music. You can just get the cliff notes and like, all right, I feel like I know what's going on here. I kind of know what's happening here. But so often we don't. I talked about this with Pink Floyd a little bit. Again, if you don't think Pink Floyd is political, you haven't been paying attention. Go home and listen to Animals again for crying out loud.
Kensington, Ohio.
I mean, what do people think dogs are for? Good God. What did people think on the Turning Away was, all right, anyway. But like, Pink Floyd, people aren't reading the lyric sheets. We're not consuming it. And that's exactly why, this is why I opened the door of Pink Floyd. David Gilmour once said, when being asked to explain a song, he said, I don't want to. And the interviewer got a little offended. And David said, no, you misunderstand me. I wrote it for them to consume it. It needs to be what they need it to be. And I kind of like that mentality. But the reality is that they are written songs from a position. And so much of politics has been in your art since the beginning of time. You were just young and didn't care about it then, or even, I was going to say worse, but that's not really what I mean. Differently, you agreed with the politics of that band in the 1990s. You just no longer do. They're not raging for the machine. Some of us grew up and became the machine. Future Tuesday at 9. Got new Bad Flower for you. Teacher Has a Gun, the name of that. Also, Keith Urban will give you Wild Side. And Eddie Vedder, Save It for Later, the name of that one. And we will get to it later. That at 9 a.m. You'll be able to weigh in. 330-450-7625 is your text line. And the microphone talkback button on iHeartRadio works as well. If you listen that way, it's another good way to reach out. Decided to whip out Bulls on Parade there as we got into a conversation about Rage Against the Machine. And it's because Tom Morello is calling on metalheads to get their act together. And, of course, what he's asking you to do is vote the way he wishes you would, right? And so, of course, now everybody's out there screaming bloody murder about keep politics away from the art. Well, we would need to get a DeLorean to 88 miles per hour in order to be able to do it, because politics has been infused, or art rather, has been infused with politics since long before you were born. Long before I was born. One of my favorite songs ever is For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield. That is literally an anti-war song. So political. By design. Which, by the way, we always tell young kids to shut up. I think Stephen Stills might have been all of 22 when he wrote it. Isn't that interesting? It's a little interesting, right? But people are all up and down and yelling at Tom Morello, stick to music, stick to this, stick to that. I was like, well, you're telling them to stick to the music that they wrote that's all political. Like, I don't know. Let's see here. From the song I just played you. Terror range drenching, quenching the thirst of the power downs. That's five-sided fist of gone. The rotten sore on the face of Mother Earth gets bigger. The trigger cold, empty your purse.
No, sweetheart.
So we already got sores on the face of Mother Earth. I'm willing to bet that has nothing to do with political or, politics, or how we maybe approach this or approach wars or approach the environment. I'm sure that has nothing to do with that. Oh, maybe let's skip down after the chorus again. Weapons, not food, not homes, not shoes, not need, just feed the war, cannibal, animal. I walk to the corner to the rubble that used to be a library. Line up to the mine cemetery now. What we don't know keeps the contracts alive and moving. They don't got to burn the books, they just remove them. While arms warehouses fill as quick as the cells, rally around the family. Pocket full of shells. So, geez, we hit a lot of the talking points there. And again, this is going back to the 90s, but still pretty relevant today, as they don't burn books, they just remove them. We talk about that plenty in this country. We talk about that plenty. Oh, look, the rubble used to be a library. So the destruction of your cities and learning centers, geez, that has something to do with politics as well. I mean, everybody's jumping up and down on Tom Morello. And it's funny to me because, first, do you think Tom Morello's reading those comment sections where, like so-and-so's blog is posting what he said? He isn't. So you'll see people write things, shut up, Tom! And it's like, he'll see it, buddy, I promise. He is. He'll see it. But he won't, right? So there's that. Now, again, I know what's happening. What is happening? I'm annoyed. I'm stuck in this line or at the red light or waiting at work for something, and I see this, and now it just made me more mad. I'm really mad about the fact that my wife won't call me back. But now I see Tom Morello talking politics, so suck it, celebrity, suck it! And you go crazy about it. It's a little nuts. Especially when you start talking about artists. Imagine if, okay, so let's play this game. You essentially what you're saying here is keep politics out of art, right? And I used to kind of be one of these until I realized all of my favorite stuff is political. I mean, every last bit of it, all my favorite movies, all my favorite music, everything is political.
For you.
What we're saying here is don't put that stuff in music. You know what really we're saying
2 for $4.
is, will you please use less inspiration to write me songs?
Like $2.50 for one.
That's the argument. Said differently, yes, but it's the same argument. Keeping with the music theme, I've said the same thing about songwriters. People really get up in arms. He didn't write it. She didn't write that. Oh my gosh, she didn't write it. And do I respect an artist more if they write their stuff? Of course. But I understand songwriters are going to be part of life, and I'm okay with it. You know why? Because only so many people can sing a song and turn it into a hit. We talk about this every week with New Tour Tuesday. Last week it was Brantley Gilbert, right? And it was like, that's why his best songs he gave to Jason Aldean, because he can actually do it, right? So songwriters are just giving me more of what I'm looking for, more music. I'm going to be hard. It'll be hard for me to stand anywhere and go, can I have less of what I love more than anything in the world, music? Can I have less of it, please? I don't think I can do that. Now, again, I've said for 10 years in here that I view albums the way other people view Shakespeare. That I view them as high-end art like that. And part of the reason I do is because they're not just banging their head and they're not just playing reasonable noise. Sometimes they're saying this. Sometimes they're saying like that, like Bulls on Parade. Sometimes they're saying things like Guerrilla Radio, which you should maybe look into what that song is about. Sleep Now in the Fire. Again, do you think this? Do you think Zach De La Rocha woke up and was like, "Oh, dude, sleeping in the fire. I bet that's going to be. I bet that'd be hard to do." No, there's something driving those songs, and his politics is what was doing it. What happens is something sounds loud and aggressive, and you like it. So you assume they're approaching this from how you would approach it. That's crazy. I mean, it's literally crazy. One of my all-time favorite bands is Iron Maiden.
Also alone grow in the forest, sweetheart.
Iron Maiden, by the way, one of the ways I would defend them to my parents while growing up, when people were like, keep all this art out of this, keep this out of this, keep this out of this, keep wars out of this, it was like, Iron Maiden, there's maybe a lot of metal bands you should tell me not to listen to, but Iron Maiden shouldn't be one of them. They're a history lesson with guitar solos, for crying out loud. Like, it's literally what they are. You had to know stuff. You had to know names of ships and wars and where battles were fought and things like that. Otherwise, you'd be sitting there listening to the trooper, listening to all this stuff, going, what the hell is he talking about? But if you had paid attention in history class a little bit, you'd be like, dude, look at Bruce sticking some of this in here, right? Like, that's what they were all about. That's why it's so funny. Like, people my age who say it, it's like everything you grew up with, tickets you stood in line to get were about these things too. They just hit it a little.
Peanuts.
But telling Tom Morello to stick to music is hilarious. It's like, well, if he does, he's just going to give you Bulls on Parade Part 2. Looking forward to seeing you guys at the Stansbury Cup on the 24th. Our golf outing is at Raintree Golf and Event Center. Your sign-up sheet is at WRQK.com. Get your team signed up today. Looking forward to seeing you guys out there. God knows I have played in a lot of outings for a ton of you out there. I would like to see you on the 24th. Get your team signed up today. WRQK.com. I wasn't really intending on talking about this a whole lot today, or even at all, if I'm honest. But we got a little sidetracked with Tom Morello because he went online and asked metalheads to get their act together and start, voting accordingly and the like. And so, of course, now people are like, I went from raging against the machine to raging for it. And it's like, well, not really, though. I actually think the opposite is true. I think what happens is, in the 90s, it comes out. You don't really have life experience on you yet. You're young. You think you want to see or going to see the world change, and my generation will set it right, and all of these things, right? And then you get a little older. You got a mortgage. You got kids in college. You got all this stuff, and you're like, screw it, dude. Everybody sucks, right? And then you become hardened. I think what happened is Rage Against the Machine didn't change. I think some of their audience did. They grew up and became said machine. That can happen, right? There's another way to say it. See, you disagree with what I just said. I'm willing to bet a lot of you do, right? That what happened there is people who were young in the 90s, hand raised, that would be me, grew up and some of them became the machine. And right now, so many people go, that doesn't happen. And you disagree with them. Yet there's been a saying in society forever that I am willing to bet you do agree with that is essentially the same exact message, which is what? You become a little bit more conservative after you turn 35 and get your kids, and that's the other way to say it. You've gone along with that saying forever. It's the same exact thing, right? Chris had been listening and he was like, dude, I remember this. He's like, you're not wrong. He's like, people have been on Rage about this for years now. And he's like, I thought the same thing. I'm going online, I'm watching people tell them stick to music, and I'm like, have you never listened to their music? Have you never heard what Rage Against the Machine is about? And again, man, if you go and really look at what guerrilla radio is about, or Down Rodeo, or, Sleeping in the Name of, or no, I'm sorry, Sleep Now in the Fire. I comboed up Sleep Now in the Fire and Killing in the Name of there. Sorry about that. But Killing in the Name of is really the song that people kind of go, that's the one with Rage, right? So I knew I was going to get this when I was talking about Tom Morello, and I just waited until the message came in to be talking about this end of the story, or this end of this with Tom Morello. And of course, this goes back to COVID.
In the middle of the road,
right? And
like
in COVID, plenty of artists, Tom Morello among them, were asking you to go get your COVID vaccination.
Your nails.
Beyond asking you, and I don't remember where Rage came down, some of them were requiring you in order to be vaccinated in order to come to shows, right? Some of that was venue related, some of that was city related, some of that, right, depending on where it was. I can't remember exactly what Rage's viewpoint was. My guess is they were looking for you to be vaccinated to get into the building. And they were calling on people to get vaccinated, right? And so what went viral during COVID with Rage Against the Machine? F you, I won't do what you tell me. F you, I won't do what you tell me. So many people have said that to me this morning, like, Stansbury, my issue is this. You're not wrong about what you're saying here, that the politics have been in the music forever, but they were, this, and now they went from F you, I won't do what you tell me, to now F you, do what you're told. Okay. Those are very, and I mean very different things. Rage Against the Machine, you're making F you, I won't do what you tell me, their entire belief system. It wasn't. Again, I've told you that I believe, and I guess I could be wrong, although I don't think that I am. However, I never do, so fair enough. That I have defended songwriters forever. Whether it be a co-writing, no matter what it be. And I've said, songwriters are storytellers. It doesn't mean they're always telling me their story. Which is why I'm okay if 2 Chainz goes to like a college, based high school, arts-based high school where he gets his college credits in 9th grade and he gets good grades and he comes out and he tells you about how he's trapping. I don't care. Because he's telling me something that does happen, that he sees. I don't need it to be him. I understand that it's going to be storytelling is going to be part of it, right? I don't need him to be the gangster on the street. I just need him to be telling me the story about the gangster on the street. I'm trapping, right? He ain't trapping. He ain't never been trapping a day in his life. Selling drugs, by the way, if anybody doesn't know. And I guess that could have been a little bit easy to figure out, but there you go. But going back to Killing in the Name of, F you, I won't do what you tell me, that has nothing to do with going along with the machine. Well, actually, it does kind of. Do we know what that song's about? Yes, we do. We do know. What is that song about? The Rodney King incident is what that song is about. That song, by the way, when you get to F you, I won't do what you tell me, I believe, if memory serves, is from a policeman's perspective of, no, I'm not just going to be beating people in the street. I'm not just going to be killing people in the street because you gave me this badge. The LAPD's not a gang. F you, I won't do what you tell me. That's what that is. No way whatsoever can you ever tell me what it is I need to do or how I need to act. That's not what that means. It's another in a long line of misunderstood lyrics, and that's okay too. It's going to happen. But I saw, I mean, again, I don't really want to dig up the whole COVID thing again because we're past it now. I mean, I know there's the new variant, and of course there is because you're voting in November. But, like, I mean, come on, right? We don't got to go and dig that whole thing back up. But there's a term that I haven't used yet in this, but it fits, and it's false equivalence. And that, to me, is a false equivalence. You told me you won't do what they tell you. He's telling you from a cop's perspective, you're not turning me into one of these cops. I am a police officer, yes, but you're not turning me into one of these. F you, I will not do what you tell me. So isn't it possible that a line in a song that's you can chant, which is welcome to hit records, that's how they're made, right? When you can chant, isn't it possible it's just a line in a song about one particular issue and not an entire life mantra? Because let's be honest about the I won't do what you tell me. Some people just don't like to be told what to do. My brother is one of those. Hates it. And the moment you tell him anything, he will dig his heels in. I ain't doing it. Right? He is one of those. And I think that's why a lot of people pick that phrase up as their battle cry during that. Other people had legitimate concerns about the vaccination, and you have been proven at least somewhat right about your apprehension. You have. You have more and more admitting of like, oh yeah, it does do that. Yeah, that thing we told you was like false news and like, you know, we were yanking people off of YouTube for it. Yeah, actually that does happen with that now though. And like, that's a thing for sure. That's all a thing. And so maybe if you want to kill Rage Against the Machine for something, that's what you kill them for, which is, dude, you made us do this. You asked us to do this before anybody really had any information about what if you want to kill them for that, okay, I would maybe be on your side on that one. But telling Rage Against the Machine to keep politics out of what it is they do is just, well, crazy because it's who they've been from the beginning.
Oh,
and
shit.
Beyond that, that line in that song had nothing to do with falling in line with this. It was except for one particular instance in life. Whereas you are supposed to uphold law and order. You're not supposed to be judge, jury, and executioner in the street on your own. F you, I won't do what you tell me. We'll have new Eddie Vedder for you that at 9 a.m. part of New Tour Tuesday. Save it for later, the name of that song. Also have new Bad Flower too. Teacher Has a Gun. As we've been talking politics and music today, I don't even know if I should play that one, right? Should probably keep the politics out of the music there. You know, somebody said to me about the Rage Against the Machine issue. I don't want to spend money on this, but we already have. Somebody said, well, you know, they used to be anarchists, you know, but now they're totalitarian and all of this. Well, maybe, let's say some of that is true. I think I could understand why a young 17 Tom Morello thinks anarchy is appealing. And maybe why at 50-some years old, he's probably like, dude, I don't know about anarchy. I don't know
changed my mind.
Far, right? Like, I think that's maybe